What's up, Movement Masters? It's Shawn, Myszka, Movement Master and OptimizeMovement.com coming to you with another movement development sequence. I know it's been a while since we've actually had a movement development sequence, but I think you will find that today's is going to make up for the wait because of its uniqueness as well as the overall application and transfer to almost any population. So not just athletes of varying qualifications and level of movement mastery, but human beings as a whole. Now you're probably wondering what this goofy culmination of training gadgets that stands behind me that is whipped together in kind of a circus looking fashion is really for. Well, it happens to form the foundational basis for today's movement development sequence. And I call it our natural or novelty movement obstacle course. And I really want to implore you throughout our movement development sequence video here today to consider trying putting together something of the like, something similar for your athletes, because I feel like you'll be able to unlock some motor learning in the use of biomechanical positions that you didn't even know your athletes were capable of. Now, I happen to come across this idea of this natural movement philosophy when looking at some of the work by Erwin LaCour. I just decided to kind of put it together in a different, more structural way that is applicable and repeatable for my athletes. Now, knowing what we do as movement professionals about the dynamic systems theory and implicit learning and contextual interference and the role of sensory processing or perceptual and cognitive implications, as well as problem solving, I've found tremendous results helping to improve upon a host of movement characteristics and qualities in the level of athletes of my NFL players. And I feel like it can have a great application for athletes of all levels, and really we're finding that here at Explosive Edge with all athletes of levels of qualification and mastery. And the thing that you're going to find is when you incorporate something like this novelty or natural movement obstacle course, your athletes are going to have a great deal of fun as well. Now really all I do is I set an obstacle course such as the one that you see behind me, and then employ a variety of constraints depending on the movement abilities that I'm looking for the athlete to attempt to improve upon. And I essentially then will just offer up the environment and then stand back as a movement professional and let them attempt to solve the task and the environmental problems by using their body and the body's movements as their tool. So it's in this fashion that they learn very implicitly, and I found that this use then of the biomechanical positions, the control and coordination of them that emerges becomes rather sticky, and we see something being used very similar than when we go into other types of more sport-specific movement tasks, drills, and activities. You know, honestly, it's actually probably been very, very sweet watching the movement solutions unfold in front of me and really seeing what the athletes are capable of, as well as how they use their bodies to navigate through and around the problems, to learn the control and coordination between movement patterns in order to do so, in order to solve the problems that are in front of them. And you really, as a movement professional, can get an idea pretty quickly on what the athletes are capable of, as well as what they are comfortable and confident with. And now from rep to rep or set to set, I will always change the various tasks and environmental constraints. For example, based on the things that I'm seeing, I'm going to want to stretch them in their movement in certain ways. So I might have them carry apparatuses, such as, two of these poles that are on the top of the slalom poles. I might have them carry a kettlebell. I might have them carry offset kettlebells or something of the like. And all this does is it becomes an extension of one's body and creates another constraint of the task that they have to look to overcome in a different way. I will also change the height of these quite frequently, the position of the slalom poles, the position that you can see of the hurdles, constantly from rep to rep to continue to serve as an ever-changing environment that the athlete must look to overcome. And as you can see, or maybe you'll be able to see, I'm barefooted, and in fact, I get my athletes to do the same thing, again to improve upon that sensory perceptual processing that will occur when the athlete is barefoot, and it'll allow them to open up some biomechanical ranges of motion as well. You might be asking yourself how it is that I place this or determine to place it, and I just get pretty damn creative. Okay, I might have it in this L shape that you see based on where the hash marks are. Hopefully you can kind of see those, and then I'll make the athlete change it up from rep to rep, where maybe the first style they just have to stay on the white line and they can't touch the green with their feet or something of the like, or as long as both toes or both feet are on a white line, then it's legal. Okay, but if they were to step here and go all on the green, then that's an error and they have to go back to the start. Or if they touch an apparatus then, moving to this position, then that's also an error and they have to restart. Again, I've been pretty creative with the way that I place these demands on the athlete, and I would implore you to do the same. So really what you find is they start getting very comfortable, getting in certain positions and looking how to navigate themselves around, and constantly problem solving as they take themselves throughout, as you can see myself doing as well here. Okay? So anytime that you want to change it up, or you want to force your athletes to expand their horizons of movement control and coordination, you can go ahead and do so. Obviously, that's based on the spatial constraints, but we can also change temporal constraints. So we could have it based on time, so I could bring my stopwatch, time them, and see what their best performance is, or I could maybe have a timer subtracting to give them greater urgency or a sense of urgency, and then obviously we see that their movement patterns change quite extensively as well. But the thing about this task here, guys and gals, the very cool thing that I have found is that both the athlete as well as then you as the movement professional can get very, very creative. So you as the movement professional in the problem of the task in the environment that you present to the athlete, and then the athlete in the way that they use their body with their movement in order to solve that problem that you present to them. I've also found, or have used it then, as a way for movement preparation or warm-up. I've also used it as a whole movement session or drill. And then finally, I've used it in between sets to keep that athlete in their sensory and perceptual cognitive processing kind of at a heightened state of awareness when there's other drills and tasks that I'm looking to employ or elicit a certain response and behavior. But as you're going to find out, it may look rather simple, but depending on your creativity and depending on the environment that you set forth in front of the athlete, it can get real complex real quick depending on its design. So I just wanted to show you this thing that I happened to stumble on. Again, I kind of got the idea from a number of different sources, but then I put it together in a way that I feel is very applicable to all levels of qualification and movement mastery of athletes, and I would implore you to try to do the same. If you don't happen to have some of these simple training gadgets, there's lots of ways that you can do this, okay? Be creative. Force yourself out of your box with your traditional drills, and I think that you're going to find that the athletes will get a motor learning and biomechanical positioning improvement in skill acquisition out of the deal. So for another movement development sequence, this has been Shawn Myszka, Movement Mastery and OptimizeMovement.com. I'll talk to you guys on the flip side, and until then, let's continue to master the art of optimizing movement.